Hello everybody, welcome to our live demo at lunchtime today on the last day of May. I'm Jörg, I'm the CEO of meshcloud, and I'm happy to present and give you a quick tour through our product meshStack today at lunch. Yeah, what is the ultimate goal of our product? It's basically, and in easy words, to accelerate application delivery. We are making this product to increase the performance of a digital organization so that applications can be delivered faster and more streamlined and in a secure way as well, in a scalable, in a large organization in a scalable way. And that's what we aim in the big goal, and the immediate goal basically is to boost Cloud Foundation teams to scale the cloud adoption in the organization with our solution. And that's what I'm going to show you today, how this works. Yeah, let's have a look into the product. Let me quickly change to the right window. So here you can see what we call the administration area. That's basically the view of the Cloud Foundation team. The Cloud Foundation team are basically the administrators of the cloud landscape, which is basically the people who are the main users of our solution. And they have all the cloud landscape under control in this administration area. So the first bigger part I would like to show you is the how do I model the organization within our product? Because when we want to use the cloud, we have to bring several organizational parts together, which is, for example, the teams, the applications themselves, the different cloud platforms, and other stakeholders in the organization. So let's have a look at a quick look at the model that we put into our product, and that's best shown in the Cloud Universe view, which we have here. So to make you have a look at it, it's the Cloud Universe shows basically the different organizational entities that we have. That is the users, of course. That is what we call a customer. It's kind of a workspace that we can use for to group cloud projects that belong to the same topic or the same application or the same team. And then of course we have the projects themselves. A project is basically an application with its different stages that we can model in the software. And then we have the tenants. A tenant is a projection of a project into the cloud. So a tenant is usually an Azure subscription, an AWS account, or a Google project if we go to the Google Cloud. It can be a namespace in Kubernetes, for example. So that's the flexible part. And those tenants are connected to projects. So how do we work with this model, basically? So as a first little test, I'm gonna search for a certain user. Let's call her Daniela Developer, and I see she's here. Need to zoom in a bit. So Daniela Developer is a user in our Cloud Foundation. And by clicking on her, I can see, okay, what are her relations in the organization. So we have a customer, the Liquid mobile app. So she's part of the app team for the Liquid. Liquid is our sample organization that we have here. It's a bank that digitalizes their applications, and one is the mobile app, and that's modeled here. And then she is a member of two projects as well, which is the new application Cloud Native and the production application for the Liquid mobile app. And then of course we see different tenants connected to her where she has access, which is basically a marketplace, an OpenShift namespace on GCP, an Azure subscription, an AWS account, and so on, a GCP project. So we can see the different connections that she has. So we see the Cloud Universe shows us basically what's going on in our cloud organization. It gives us transparency about the different entities in our organization and how they relate to each other. Of course, this is just a graphical overview. You have all the information in structured data in the product as well. So let's see let's go to a project. Let's take the production project, and I can also look, okay, using this project, what are the users that have access to this project as well. And I see like Tom team lead and other people who are members of this this project production. And in this way, you see, okay, we can find out who's responsible for what kind of projects and how can we find them in our tool landscape, independent of the cloud. So we can have several clouds, but one organization model that is that shows our organization and uses different clouds. So we're not depending on single cloud platforms who contain this information about our organization, and that gives us a better sovereignty, more or less vendor lock-in into certain platforms, because we can just add new platforms and remove them as well, while our organizational model stays in place. So let's look a bit more into the details of these different concepts. Let's first take a customer. As I said, it's basically a workspace that is like a shell, like a group of projects that we can that we have a meaningful grouping around, and that's for example like a mobile app or other parts or components or services in our digital organization, and it has information attached to it, which we have usually in the form of tags that allows us to basically give them, for example, information about classification, like how critical is the data that is attached to this workspace, what kind of landing zones, I will explain that later in a bit, are available and are allowed to use for this this project, and also who's responsible in the end for this certain customer. And as I said, you have the customer works, which is a workspace, but we have also the projects, of course. And projects are basically the different cloud environments that we group in a project to use with our application team. As you can see, it has also different tags and information attached to it. Interestingly, it has also a payment method attached, which is like a budget that controls how much budget is available for the project and how much is also consumed. I will show that later in more detail. And then there are the platform instances attached to it as well. And that's that's the information on this level that we collect here, and that is also possible to model independent of the cloud platform. So as you see, we have different cloud platforms, but like every cloud project is contained in one of those projects. And then of course we need the users, which we have down here, because without users we don't have someone to work in the cloud. The users are consumed from an enterprise directory, of course. So we have a single sign-on in place here, and a certain identity and access management architecture. So basically the identities are consumed from the enterprise directory, connected to the cloud platforms, and then the permissions on several projects are managed with the meshStack solution, and we will show that in a bit in more detail. And then of course, as another organizational concept, we need the platforms. You can simply add new cloud platforms in the software by clicking on Create Mesh Platform, and then you have like a number of possible platform types, which are mappings basically from our mesh model, as I showed you in the cloud universe, into these different platforms. And as you see, we support the most important public cloud platforms, but also private cloud platforms or container platforms, because all of them need projects, users, permissions, and so on to work with, and that's what we unify in our solution into the mesh model, so that it becomes easy for cloud application teams to use different cloud platforms, no matter which one they need. Yeah, of course, we have here also different information about the platforms, which which collects the information on where to find them and how they will be used. And then the final object I want to show is the tenant. As I said, it's the single cloud tenant. It's a generic term for this confined space in a cloud that is isolated against other spaces, so that we have a certain security environment set up here. And it can be an Azure resource group, an Azure subscription, GCP project. It depends on what we want to map as a tenant in a specific cloud platform. All security and metadata information that we put on a project will be replicated to the cloud tenant as well. So if you tag a project in a certain way, those tags will be available in the tenant as well. So you can use them to set up policies, to extract data information, to use monitoring based on these tags and so on. And I will show you how these tags are filled in a bit when we come to that part. So that was the organizational overview of how we model the organization into the software. Now I would like to have a deeper look at the security aspects, because of we need to ensure as the Cloud Foundation team that security responsibilities are met and that we implement them in a scalable way, so that when the organization grows and more people, more teams or grow into the cloud and adopt the cloud, that we don't run into limitations, but that we can scale effortlessly and efficiently while providing the self-service that our solution offers. So let's have a look at the landing zones, because that's the most core and important concept here that we need to understand. A landing zone is basically a security template for a certain cloud tenant. So if we create with the software, which if you create a project as a user, then there's, for example, an Azure subscription created, and this subscription will be secured before anyone gets access to this subscription. So we run a certain policy, and that's the policy that we call a landing zone, before the subscription will be accessed by the team. And we can steer that security configuration. As you see, there can be many different via the tag information here as well. So for example, there's an environment for a development project. So if we want to create playgrounds, for example, then we can have a looser security setting in place, because people should try different cloud servers. They don't need strict monitoring and auditing features, though it can be less restrictive. But if we have, for example, a production environment with very sensitive data, then we need to tighten security very much and provide a very strict landing zone. There can be also landing zones for certain use cases. For example, if we have a data analyst or data scientist who wants just to use the data analytics services of a hyperscaler, then we can restrict the landing zone to those services only, and then provide a very focused landing zone for data scientists, for example. So in that way, I can build, based on the overall cloud portfolio that I have in my organization, I can build specific platforms for certain user groups which are restricted to their convenience, right? So they don't need to take care of things they don't need, and they can be assured that what is there can be used by them in a pre-secured way. And that's basically a very good shared responsibility frontier between the Cloud Foundation team, which provides the basic security, and then the application team who builds their technology stack on this in this environment, which has a basic security foundation, and then they need to secure their application or their use case in the right way as well, but only this part which is above basically the basic landing zone that is provided by the Cloud Foundation team. Another important part here is the building blocks feature, which is quite new to our software, but which was requested a lot, and which solves also a lot of issues the people we work with and our customers frequently had with providing additional services to a landing zone, to a cloud environment. Because let's say usually you need several additional services for cloud environments, for example, a connectivity to a certain network. So you might have some automation in place already for that, let's say a Terraform script, and then you can just simply add this automation as a building block into the meshStack platform. So as you can see here, you just basically make some give some configuration data, like which platform is it supposed to serve, what's the implementation time. Here it's a Terraform in this example, and then we just provide a Git link to the implementation of the building block and some additional information. And then we can also define some inputs which are needed for the script or for the automation to run, and some outputs which are delivered. And that's basically a building block which can then be used to put additional features into a pre-configured landing zone. For example, the connectivity here, or a logging and monitoring stack, or whatever you would like to add. And they can be chained as well in terms of giving dependency information. So you can use them like Lego bricks to build cloud accounts to the convenience of your teams. And that enables to have the landing zone as kind of a base plate, and then put these building blocks on top as required, and mix and match basically what is needed for an application team. And that helps you to create very specific cloud accounts in a scalable way, because you don't need to talk or to communicate a lot, because people can just use all these modules and the landing zones in self-service, so that they are set in a few minutes in the best case. Yeah, and in the compliance section, we see how everything works together. So we have a certain set of tags which are, again, free to be configured according to your organizational classification system. Here we have the workspace, the mesh customer, we have the mesh projects, the landing zone, and the payment method, and all share or all have tags attached. And we can now define policies which work on matching these tags to make sure that we use the right things together. As to give an example, we have here a rule that enforces the landing zone family, which is cleared for a certain mesh project. And what it does is basically it checks if the landing zone family of the landing zone is in the clearance tag for the mesh project. So let's say we have a landing zone marked as a development landing zone, then the mesh projects need to be also cleared for development zone. So it needs to be a development project, not a production project. And by that way we can steer in self-service that the right landing zones are used for the right type of projects. Again, the classification system is totally customizable, so whatever you need is possible to model here. Yeah, if you have questions so far at that point, please put them in the chat and we will have a look and answer them as they come. So now we have seen the administrative view for the Cloud Foundation team, but of course we also want to have a look at the view for the Cloud Application team, so the team that uses the cloud to provide software for the digital capabilities of the company. And I do that by jumping into a customer, which is a workspace for the application team. We have here this example of the Liquid mobile app, and here now I see the different projects that are contained within this workspace, and that's basically what a cloud application team needs in self-service for the cloud applications is available here. So we have the different cloud environments, we have the possibility to control access for certain users in a certain role, and also of course we have the financials here and additional services as well. I will show you that now in bit by bit. So let's first start. The first thing, if you want to go to the cloud, is of course you need a cloud space to run your application in, and that's something where we need to create a new project. So let's say we create this cool project that has the name, the exciting name Demo 3105, and then we give information about this project. So these are the tags that we discussed already. So let's say the project owner who's responsible for the project is an admin. Let's say it's a development project. The confidentiality is public. Business unit is R&D, and now we need to choose the right landing zone family. So what type of project do I want to create? And let's say we want to create a cloud native project. That means, use the cloud native services on the cloud platform to establish a cloud native application. Next thing, of course, as the cloud is pay per use, we need to provide a budget. Here I will put in the playground budget, which is like a credit card, which you can basically use to pay for the cloud services. These budgets can be put in the system in a manual way or via the API. So basically, whatever your approval process is, you can create these budgets using that one. Then we need to add the cloud platforms that we want to use. Include an Azure platform. The global marketplace for the service is always set because it's available for all cloud projects. I will explain later what you can do with it. Okay, let's take the Azure platform, and then we need to select the landing zone. And here you can now see, because I tag the project as a development project, I cannot use the production landing zone anymore, but only the development landing zone. And that helps me and the user as the application team to choose the right landing zones for the right purposes when I give the right information at the very beginning. Here you can see how I can add these additional services to the landing zone. So for example, an Azure networking service, I can just select it here and then choose a certain plan, and the costs attached to this additional service, which are internal costs, can be charged to the project as well on the budget I just selected. But for now, let's use only the landing zone and go on. And here is the access control. So basically, I would like to add, let's take Daniela again for as a user in my project, which means basically she's a contributor to the cloud projects I'm going to create. I will add myself, of course, because I'm the admin of the project. I create it, so I administrate it. I can also give myself another role, but for now I'm the admin, and that basically helps me to invite my team and to onboard my team on this cloud project in self-service. These roles are 3 generic roles which you can use in landing zones to define certain permissions attached to these different roles. So we make it very easy here to define organizational roles, and then what kind of permissions they have is individual per landing zone, and that helps to scale very well because you remove all the complexity of the permission to the specific use case. So an admin should in general do X, Y, Z, and a user do that, and a reader, if you use that role, of course, shouldn't be able to change anything, and you can easily implement that in landing zones in a clear way. You can add additional roles on this level as well. They are customizable, and you can name them differently, so that's possible. But those are a good standard, a good starting point to model these cross-cloud access roles. Okay, let's go next, and I get a review and a creation process of the creation process. Basically, the information that I entered is visible again, and I can review it. And what is important to understand is that we don't basically run like a process now that creates it, but what we create is a desired state model. This project will be included in the mesh model of your organization and then continuously replicated against the cloud platforms. This is important because the cloud as a distributed system is sometimes fragile because of network connections, because of eventual consistency. So having a desired state model is a very good approach to deal with these inconsistencies and to make sure over time we reach a consistent state, which is the target state that we defined here with the mesh project. I will now go to an existing project because it takes too long for now to create the project in the cloud and see it getting there. So let's jump into the develop project. You see, first of all, you see all the platforms contained in this project. It's a very colorful project in terms of clouds included. So we have an Azure Kubernetes cluster here, Azure subscription as well, GCP project, and like an OpenShift space as well. So that's possible if you need many clouds for your project. But of course, for the demonstration here, we have maybe a bit more platforms included than you would usually have. Yeah, let's see. First of all, as a cloud team or cloud application team, I want, of course, to go to the cloud. So let's just jump into it. And here you see I'm directly at the cloud dashboard, in that case of the Google Cloud. That's my organizational user, so no tricks here. I can also go directly to the Google Cloud and it will be there. So I don't need to go via the meshStack solution. It's just there to configure everything, to make sure everything is set up in the correct way, but you don't need to use it in the daily work. Also, all the tool sets, all the CI/CD tooling that you use will go directly to the cloud and not via the meshStack. That's very important, of course, because we want to enable cloud native organizations and not be like an intermediate layer somewhere in between. So it's just there to set up your things, but the teams will have direct cloud access to the APIs, to the panels, and everything that the cloud offers. So as you see, we replicate also some of the metadata, and that's basically the cloud environments that I can use. So what you might have seen here as well is a marketplace as well. So the marketplace helps to add additional services, as I said. So let's have a look at examples. So basically, maybe you need a tool chain, like a CI/CD pipeline, a build pipeline tooling that should be available, or other additional services that your organization, like you as a cloud foundation team, provides to your users in a self-service way. And that helps to streamline that process as well. So I don't need to like open a service ticket or talk or write an email to some team in the organization, but I can just choose it here in the marketplace and then choose a certain plan, add it, and it will be created as an instance here as well. As you can see, I can add several instances of services to my cloud project. Interestingly, there's a service catalog behind that also has a price. So the cloud is all about pay-per-use. So all services that you choose here, they can have a price that will be charged to your cloud project. And talking about chargeback and financials, let's come to the final area I would like to demo you for today. That's to make sure that the cloud costs are transparent and also accounted for, because it's very important to look at the cost as well, because as you know, pay-per-use means costs can scale rapidly and budgets are quickly depleted if we don't have an eye on the cost as well. So let's see. First important part, of course, is that the team is aware of the cost and of the budget strain that we have so far. So I go to my customer, to my workspace, and look at the financials, and I would like to show you the budgets first, the payment methods. And here you can see like all the budgets, like it's like several credit cards I have available, and they can be chosen here to assign to different projects. And you see, okay, some of them are still green and good, and I have enough money left here, but others are worryingly exceeded, so I need to take care to exchange them and basically put in a new budget, basically make a rollover of the cost, or otherwise take care of the overrun budget. And that's what is possible here to create new budgets, or to roll over basically to new budgets and put them in place. We have the chargeback statements here as well, which gives us basically the invoice of the cloud. And I would like to have a look at, let's take this one where we have some consumption. So you see basically the different cloud platforms that are available, and all the costs that occur in the cloud platforms. We incorporate it into the system and display it here on a project basis. So that's basically down to the line item, to the resource that is consumed by a project, and we have all the cost attached here. For some platforms we also have carbon emission data, so that we display that here as well, which is becoming more and more important if we look at sustainability reporting guidelines and requirements. And of course, what we can also see, apart from the hyperscalers invoice that is replicated here, we also see the different marketplace services that are included in the chargeback statement, and which are basically charged against the payment method, the budget in place. So in this way, you can very easily create internal service chargeback mechanisms and create a service ecosystem of teams who provide services, who consume maybe infrastructure services, put like platform services on top of them and provide them again in the service marketplace, and all that in a self-service way, so that you have a nice little cloud within your own organization, like a cloud platform in your own organization. Like a combination of the market, the hyperscaler platforms, which you restrict by landing zones, and your own services. And this blend is basically what brings everything together. It's the mesh cloud. That's why we have this name, where everything comes together, and you have one point to access all the cloud services, which accelerates again the application delivery. Teams know where they find cloud services, they know the budgets, they know how to charge them, they know how to configure them, they know how to invite new people. Everything comes together here. But let's have a look also how does the Cloud Foundation team check that the that the finances are okay, because usually cloud costs are charged to one cost center and then distributed to others, and you need to make sure that you charge in time so that your cost center doesn't overrun. And that's what we have taken care of. You basically see the different costs over time divided by platform. You also see the biggest spenders, and of course you have an eye on the budgets as well. So let's take here the people who need to put additional money into the bank, basically. So who has exceeded their budgets, and we can see here the exceeded budgets, and basically make sure that we talk to these people, or that we make them roll over the budget so that it becomes green lighted again. And of course, not only the overrun, but I have an eye on every budget, so I can also check if there's a budget that is close to be depleted, so let's say over 80%, and then I can already access the teams and tell them to take care of a new budget in time. So yeah, I have no worries anymore with the bill shock, as it's usually called, that at some point in time there will be this large surprisingly high cloud bill that shocks everyone, and which leads to so much confusion in organizations when they go to the cloud. But we will have it under control here. Of course, as the Cloud Foundation team, you can also have a look at the chargeback statements. Every individual chargeback statement is available here, and you can basically see what is the consumption and what is available. I showed you these are exactly the same that the teams can view. So you have the same information available here. One interesting point is you see the little log icon. So because pay-per-use means that costs develop dynamically, but at some point we need to make sure this is now a fixed invoice that will not change anymore. And that's why we have certain invoicing cycles, which are usually monthly. So after a month and a few days, when all the costs are settled and the cost data is in, the chargeback statements are closed automatically, and then they don't change anymore, and everything is added to the new period, to the new payment period, which will change as long as it's not finalized. So in that way, we also have reliable, auditable, and basically solid statements about cost when it comes to to questions about invoicing, chargeback. So it's not like an ever-changing set of records, but it's a clear and defined invoice that is available in the platform for everyone to see, and to make transparent why a certain charge is due. Of course, it's nice to view it in the panel here in the UI, but you can also export it via the API and use it to really do the charging or the payments in backend systems that you have in your company to provide internal transfer of funding. Yeah, that's basically the quick round trip of our product. I would just like to quickly check if we have some questions, but not for now apparently. So I hope you had a good got a good idea of what the meshStack solution is about. If you have any questions, you can of course add them now or at any later point. We're happy to get in touch with you. So at any time when you want to learn more, you can easily make an appointment via our website, or just send us a message at some channel. You can also join our community Slack. We have a Cloud Foundation community Slack that facilitates the exchange of people who build cloud foundations in large organizations. So yeah, as you know, experience is important to not make the same mistakes over and over again. So it's a very valuable resource to get in touch with people who might have similar problems than you face, similar challenges, and who have certain ideas about it, and to exchange it and to try out and learn from each other. It's a very great thing. So that's our community Slack. Everything what I meant, like the community Slack, as well as our Cloud Foundation maturity model, which gives you guidance of about your cloud strategy, about like how to create your evolutionary path in your cloud journey, is available at cloudfoundation.org, which is our community website. So cloudfoundation.org is the website where you can access all the community resources that we provide to support your daily work. Yeah, and of course, we're also happy if you provide us with feedback. We will post the feedback link below after the stream. So if you have feedback for the demo and help us to improve, then that's great, and we're very grateful for that, because yeah, we would like to make it good for you and to make it interesting, and you help us by providing this feedback so that we can get better every day. Yeah, looking forward to see you here around or at a community event. Thank you for watching today, and I hope you enjoyed your lunch, and see you next week when we have this live demo again. Also, if you would like, share it with colleagues or other interested people, because we do this every week and are happy to hear back from you. So thanks so far, and have a great day and a great week.